All right, let's talk about a piece of technology that completely changed the world long before the microchip ever existed. I'm talking about the calculator, but probably not the one you're picturing. We're diving into the ancient tools that literally built empires.
I mean, seriously, stop and think about that for a second. How do you manage the taxes, the trade, all the logistics for something as massive as the Roman Empire, or the incredible financial networks of ancient China? With no computers, how on earth did they keep it all from falling apart?
Well, the answer is a technology that was kind of like an external hard drive for the human brain, a tool that let us offload the process of calculation, and it was just as clever and diverse as the cultures that dreamed it up.
So, where does a story like this even begin? Well, the first huge hurdle for any ancient society was how to make numbers real, tangible. How could you reliably add, subtract, and keep track of huge quantities for everything from building pyramids to trading grain?
Humanity's first cracks at this problem were honestly just brilliant. Way back around 2700 BC in Mesopotamia, we see the first little hint of an abacus, a clay tablet with grooves for pebbles. The Egyptians, they used sandboards you could write on and just wipe clean. And over in China, by the 8th century BC, they had these super sophisticated counting rods in wide use.
And what's so cool here is seeing how these different civilizations all came up with unique tech to solve the same problem. Mesopotamia used a base 60 system, which, by the way, is why we still have 60 seconds in a minute. It's a direct echo. Egypt used a pretty straightforward base 10 system. But China's counting rods, now that was a massive leap. They used a base 10 positional system. All that means is that the position of a rod changes its value. Just like the 1 in 10 is different from the 1 in 100. That idea seems simple to us now, but it was absolutely revolutionary. It unlocked incredibly complex math.
So, these early inventions were just warming up. They really set the stage for two absolute game changers that would eventually spread across the entire globe, turning calculation into a high-speed, portable technology.
And this is where you see two totally different design philosophies at play. You've got the Roman hand abacus. You could call it the world's first pocket calculator. It was small enough for a merchant or a tax collector to carry around, and it even had special slots for their unique currency. Then you have the Chinese abacus, which shows up around 190 AD. This thing was a beast. It was a desktop machine built for one thing and one thing only: raw, blistering speed.
Of course, tools this powerful don't just stay put. The ideas from Mesopotamia traveled west, getting tweaked and perfected by the Greeks and then the Romans. At the same time, the Chinese abacus was spreading east, making its way to Korea and Vietnam, and it eventually landed in Japan, where it was refined into the modern soroban, a streamlined design that made it even faster. It's like an open-source project from the ancient world.
Okay, but here's the most important part. These weren't just clever gadgets for doing math. No way. They were engines of societal change. The technical evolution of these tools solved critical problems and completely reshaped human civilization in at least 4 major ways.
So let's break down these 4 pillars. We're going to see how these tools sparked a revolution in commerce, how they made math accessible to everyone, how they pushed the boundaries of what was mathematically possible, and, in a really surprising twist, how they created new opportunities for women.
First up, commerce. Think of fast, accurate calculation as the essential software update that allowed the hardware of global trade to finally scale up. It solved the huge problem of managing complex accounting and massive transactions without everything grinding to a halt.
And the impact was just enormous. You had groups in China like the Jin merchants who used the abacus as their secret weapon. They built these gigantic financial networks that stretched all the way across Asia and even into Europe. The abacus was basically the key that unlocked multinational finance.
Next up, education. Before these tools, complex math was like a secret language, known only to a handful of highly trained scribes. The abacus was so much easier to learn, and it solved that problem of accessibility. It put mathematical literacy into the hands of the masses.
This led to abacus schools popping up in 13th century Europe just for merchants' kids. And that legacy? It's stunning. Get this, today, abacus education is still practiced in over 130 countries. That's a testament to its power to teach kids math in a really intuitive way.
Now, what's really mind-blowing is that these tools didn't just help people use the math that already existed, they helped them create brand new mathematics. They solved the problem of computational limits. It was like they uncorked the human brain, allowing mathematicians to go after problems that were completely unthinkable before.
I mean, using their counting rods, Chinese mathematicians were solving incredibly complex systems of equations centuries before similar methods showed up in Europe. And it was all built on their invention of the decimal positional system. That idea that a number's position gives it its value is the bedrock of everything. Algebra, calculus, computer code, it's the language of all modern math.
And finally, we come to what might be the most surprising societal impact of all. In societies that were often incredibly patriarchal, being skilled with these calculating tools became a unique backdoor for women into intellectual and professional life.
You have amazing figures like Wang Zhenye, a female astronomer and mathematician in Qing Dynasty China. She used these tools for her own research, and she famously challenged the norms of her day with the question, "Who says daughters cannot be heroes?" From women running businesses in Tang, China, to the female calculators who were the human computers behind Western science, math skills were a key that unlocked doors.
Okay, in an age where we all have a supercomputer in our pocket, why should we care about some beads on a frame? Why do these ancient tools still matter?
Well, for one, their cultural importance is just immense. In 2013, UNESCO officially recognized the Chinese abacus as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity. That's not for a tool in a museum, that's for a living tradition that embodies the height of human ingenuity.
But its value today goes way beyond simple arithmetic. Modern studies actually show that learning the abacus can improve memory, concentration, and logical thinking. It's literally a tool for training your mind. It represents this fundamental leap in how we think, a bridge between the abstract world of numbers and the physical world we touch and feel.
And that kind of brings us to one last big question. These ancient tools were created to enhance our brains, to extend our thinking. As we now outsource more and more of that thinking to our digital devices, you have to wonder, what happens to our own innate ability to reason? What part of that fundamental human skill are we at risk of losing? Definitely something to think about.